Picture this, it's December 2022, and millions of families across the United States are preparing for the final stretch of the holidays. According to PwC, nearly half of all Americans were prepared to travel for this occasion, many of them trying to exercise their new freedoms without the pandemic hanging overhead. As many of them were flying, more than 10% of them would likely be traveling with one company, Southwest Airlines. But with all the planning that usually goes into the holidays, something unexpected happened. Winter weather. But this time was different. This time, in 2022, brought some of the worst winter weather seen in decades, mostly in the form of something called a bomb cyclone. Meteorology aside, the effects of this were disastrous. Millions of Americans got snowed in, communities got frozen over, and with no ability to fly, thousands of flights were grounded. Given this weather, this was nothing unexpected. After all, planes aren't expected to take off after a blizzard. But then the deep freeze was quickly over. Things returned somewhat to normal, and while many communities were still feeling the effects, planes could finally start to take off again, and travel plans could return to normal. That is, they were able to return to normal for everyone, but Southwest. While dozens of other airlines put their planes back in the air and people arrived at their Christmas and New Year's destinations, Southwest almost inexplicably remained frozen. Even weeks after the initial cold blast, Southwest continued canceling thousands of flights per day, seemingly for no reason, as other airlines were able to return to their normal schedules. As thousands of passengers and their luggage were left without transportation, pandemonium ensued. Today, we will investigate exactly why Southwest was impacted so critically by the somewhat commonplace occurrence of a winter storm.
It's another day of travel chaos.
That their infrastructure is outdated from the 90s.
Southwest bearing the brunt of the post-Christmas cancellations.
Flight is canceled, so I don't know when I go back home.
Go through this line, it might be up to New Year to get a flight.
Welcome to the Lightning Rod channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more videos. Before we dive into Southwest's deep freeze, it is important to understand how airlines work. Most airlines around the world use a model called hub and spoke, which is another way of saying that most planes will pass through large central hubs to serve passengers. If you take off from a small regional airport in the Midwest, there's a good chance your flight will pass through Chicago O'Hare International, which serves thousands of flights per day, before reaching its final destination. This allows two things. Firstly, emptier flights from smaller airports can be filled up with customers at hubs so that airlines can maximize the amount they can charge per airline seat over long distances. Secondly, airlines can aggregate pools of personnel at hubs, so that if a flight attendant or pilot needs to be substituted to either stay at a destination or work on another flight, it is totally possible in this model. Even though it slightly increases travel time for customers at small airports, the model works well because there is an interchangeable pool of employees to work at nearly any airport, whether it's a hub or a spoke in the model. But Southwest does things a little bit differently. It's mostly a domestic airline, with only a few destinations outside of the United States, so it has fewer global hubs to serve in the first place. As such, Southwest utilizes a different point-to-point model, which primarily serves flights with no hub layover whatsoever. This means that planes, even flying from smaller airports, will usually reach their destination in a single leg, without stopping at a hub to swap employees and customers. So why did this model fail now? When 2022's bomb cyclone hit, massive blocks of flights needed to be canceled across all airlines. When the weather subsided, most airlines could continue operating in normal conditions, but Southwest and its employees were left stranded, literally. Pilots and crew members who were meant to fly on Southwest's point-to-point flights were now absent from their destinations for hours or even days, meaning that departing flights from those destinations no longer had enough employees to even take off. Then, the destinations of those flights no longer had crews, and so on. One domino collapsed after the other, and soon, Southwest could no longer staff the majority of its flights. The CEO of Southwest Airlines, Bob Jordan, likened the entire system to a puzzle, where airlines and crews needed to remain in motion for following flight legs to work properly. Without prerequisite flights, the entire system stopped working. As if the point-to-point system failure wasn't enough by itself, Southwest's own operations center revealed a second fatal flaw: computers, or rather, a lack thereof. Under normal operations, Southwest serves flights using an archaic IT system, but under the stress of mass cancellations, the system and its operators could not keep up. Bob Jordan also mentioned that Southwest had outrun its own tools, and that the airline does not have a quick and automated way to contact crew members when they are reassigned. While a non-automated system might work in less stressful conditions, it breaks under the duress of thousands of flights being cancelled. Back in June 2021, Southwest suffered a similar meltdown, which resulted in a period of similar mass cancellations, but nothing nearing the severity of December 2022. So what happens now? While customers are still figuring out how to rescue their holiday plans, the entire industry gets to learn and improve from this winter's travel fiasco. If anything, this massive interruption is a huge testament to the importance of maintaining modern technology to respond to growing customer bases. Theoretically, an improvement of Southwest's IT system could rescue some number of customers, especially if it would allow crews to be more quickly reassigned. But even more than that, this is a glowing moment for the hub and spoke model used by most airlines, as it shows their redundancy of such a system. While the outcome of Southwest's recovery plan is still unclear, it is a stark moment in the history of transportation that customers can pay attention to and analyze for their own decisions. I'm not saying that customers shouldn't fly with Southwest, as their ability as an airline to deliver service between smaller airports is a massive selling point for many. However, understanding the differences between how airlines operate should be an important point to consider when customers decide who to fly with.